And what they said was in this art book is that the team worked closely with a Japanese castle expert to validate all of the game's layouts as historically accurate, and there's not a single monument or shrine that isn't based on an actual artifact. And one thing they said here, and I couldn't believe they said this because of everything we've seen in here in the game so far, is our dedication to cultural accuracy was uncompromising. That is a load of bullshit, and we all know it is.
They are literally just, every time they open their mouths, they are digging themselves a deeper and deeper hole.
This is the hypocrisy of this. So I found that that it is set during the Azuchi Momoyama era, which is 1574 or 1579 to 1584. And the art director
Assassin's Creed is, you mean, right?
Yeah,
like
Shadows
is.
Yeah. And then the art director claimed that the dev team tripled down their efforts to make sure the game had a thorough understanding of the Japanese culture of this time period. No, you did not, obviously, and that this world is supposed to be a postcard of Japan. Based on all of the mistakes that they've made in this game, no, it is not. You are full of crap.
And so, the survey says that was a lie.
Remember, this is supposed to be historically accurate. It's really made clear throughout this whole entire thing that it is not historically accurate. It's not culturally accurate. And based on the buildings we've seen in the game, it's not accurate. There's watermelons in this game, which is not even accurate to the time period.
So what we're looking at too, Richard, is what he's saying here. He says, my understanding of the history wouldn't really apply per se. Well, we would think that, but Assassin's Creed Shadows team went way out of their way on, I would say, no less than 5 occasions to say that this was based as close to historically accurate Sengoku era Japan as possible, that they took field trips to the area, that they hired cultural experts, historical experts. They were even consulting their Japanese office before they suddenly closed it without explanation. And so, I wonder why. They all just walked out? They got an email with all this stuff in it, and the fat sumo wrestler, they just flipped over the desks, and they just laughed. They're just like,
we're out of here.
No!
Yeah. No, they just got up and walked out of the room, and then like midway during his presentation, was like, where are you going?
I will not suffer this. Forget I said that.
But when I was reading this, the first thing I thought, was like, wow, they're really trying to sound like they are the Ghost of Tsushima team, aren't they? Because that's what they do. They tripled their efforts.
They're scared.
To make sure that everything was correct. They were the ones doing the research trips. They were the ones with the cultural consultants. They are trying to be so tough and be like them, but they're not.
Well, I think a lot of that is I think you're probably more right than you even know, Nerdigans, because if you remember, when they announced the pushback, the date pushback for Assassin's Creed from February to March, from February to March or whatever, one of the delays, they were like, we're going to use this time to bring in more cultural consultants. You had insiders coming out and telling places like Insider Gaming, like, there was a big problem where we didn't bring in historical experts until like months into development. So I think that not only do they know like, oh, we're going to get railed and we're going to get like compared to Ghost of Tsushima really, really hard. What do we do? But it's also the sort of like, no, trust us. Like, we really did do that, right? Like, that's all the stuff you expect. And it's going to be like, you did, but you did it like last minute. And clearly we can tell because everything keeps going wrong.
We have Naue and her original design, and she was a bit more, I want to say, femme fatale.
Feminine.
Yeah, a bit more femme fatale. I don't think it's because of her hair. I don't know. I think it's just her general facial structure.
Yeah,
she seems
that's what
more...
I was gonna say. Her jawline and also her eyes look a lot more feminine.
I guess she can say that. I can't.
Whereas, like in her main design that they went with looks a little bit more masculine, or more like gender neutral, if that makes sense, because of how her jawline is. and how her facial structure is.
She looks like a gender swapped Shinsuke Nakamura.
They obviously had a design that would have probably been a bit more male gaze pleasing. And they decided that was probably a bit too faux pas. So they decided to, what is that? K Vess? Is that the one from Outlaws?
From Outlaws, yeah.
I just call her Rim Job. And that character. So they decided to like, we're gonna ugg up Naue, and then they ugged her up, and they were like, oh no, that looks like a man. So they just unugged her just enough.
Like very, that's what I was gonna say. Like very slightly unugged her.
Yeah, and that's why people were saying like they think her jawline shifted between when they were showing it before the Tokyo Game Awards and when they started the Tokyo Game Show to now. So I think that they have a point that her jawline has changed a bit because they said they were going to change the game. They had to polish some things, you know.
And that included her jawline.
Yeah, her jawline and
maybe even her cheekbones a little bit too.
Yep. And again, so they kind of went back to the original design a bit here. I don't know for sure. I definitely appreciate her costume having other colors than just being solid black. I think that would have been a bit of a disservice to the Assassin's Creed label where you had Ezio jumping off the top of buildings wearing bright white, and then the people that are in Ninja Town have to wear black. I think that's a bit much, you know. I think
it also would have just been like generic ninja, right? You know what I mean? Like,
right. Everybody thinks Ninja Woman.
Party City costume ninja.
Right. And I remember I did the AI generation for Taka, and I think that they missed an opportunity giving these characters like a more because you're supposed to go according to the guy that wrote the original pitch for Assassin's Creed Shadows way back in 2014. You're supposed to name the lead character after a hawk. You're supposed to give like whatever name meaning is supposed to apply to a hawk to the lead character. And so like
Ivor is like whatever, like Norse or whatever for hawk or whatnot.
Well, it may not be Norse, but it may be the name that means hawk.
Yeah,
right? It's not the bird name, but that is the human name that's supposed to mean hawk.
Oh, gotcha.
So,
okay, yeah.
Like the hawk, you know, Ivor, I think it's supposed to do that. And so that's what Taka meant. Taka was meant to be the hawk. And so Yamauchi Taka, I think they missed out on an opportunity of like giving these characters like a bird-themed uniform. I think that would have really helped them to add more like feather qualities to it and like drawing down like the peak of the hood.
Because they always I remember like the old design. They always had like the little peak on the hood top, and then that's how like Altair always like jumped off of the.
And you see the profile of it. That's the profile of the hawk's head. When you see the profile of the hood, that's the profile of the hawk's head. And so that's the whole thing, is that you're a hunter. And that's why you spring off the top of buildings, because that's the way hawks hunt. They spring down onto their prey, that kind of thing. And so that was the whole thing. And now they've just kind of thrown that away. They're just like, we have big samurai guy, and he runs through buildings like Godzilla, but tinier. And then we have Naue, and she does things, sorta, maybe.
That's a really good point to sort of show like how pandery Yasuke's addition to this game, this narrative really was, right? Because you didn't even do the very basic thing of keeping the naming convention going. You just literally, I think you did say it, and I'm just stealing from you, but you just threw him in there.
Well, and we're looking at this on the outside of it all, like not being released as a game yet, so we don't know what the internal culture explaining why Yasuke can just go around and enforce the law, and nobody's like, hey man, you're not from around here. You know, the Japanese notoriously being aware of that. Yeah, so here's the thing, is the story trailer came out, and it featured a very interesting scene where Naue and Yasuke have cornered an elderly man in the woods, and he is fighting for his life against them. If anyone happened upon this scene, those two would be immediately beheaded, and whatever that man did would be immediately erased from the law books. He would be considered a saint, having fought off a possessed woman and a foreigner trying to murder him in the woods for his money. And that's exactly what that would have been framed as. They didn't think this through at all. There's no righteous victory here. Naue going around and committing this kind of violence makes her look like she's demon-possessed. And Yasuke doing this makes it look like he's still working for the foreigners and betraying his lord. It just does. There's no righteous end.
like
Now you
there's-
add all these people in. You get a trans samurai that's like, I don't like how stoic and rule driven you guys are. Then you got over here that's like, hey, if I don't beat you to death, I'm gonna eat you to death.